Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Dan Wickline Show. I am your host, Crow T. Robot. And this weekend, we definitely had movie time. I hope everyone had a great holiday weekend, though I'm not really sure how a holiday that was originally created to honor the social and economic achievements of American workers has turned into a barbecue end of summer party weekend. Seems like we should be doing stuff to celebrate. Never mind. I don't understand this country most of the time anyway. So we'll just move on from that. I hope you all had a great Labor Day weekend. Kyle, I hope you had a good Labor Day. Or an excuse to buy a mattress. Yes, that's the other thing is there are always mattress sales, which, again, not sure about that. Why a mattress? Labor Day and Memorial Day became mattress sales days.
Yeah, I have no idea. I figured I'd just pop on and talk about it. Yeah, no, it's weird. You can buy a used car, you can buy a mattress, and you can grill out on Labor Day and Memorial Day.
Yes, absolutely.
Seems like Valentine's Day would be good for the mattress, the cooking out, 4th of July, buying a used car, maybe Henry Ford's birthday. I don't know.
Now, you know what people never used to do on Labor Day, which suddenly changed this year? They never went to the movies.
That's true. That's very true.
It was a horrible movie weekend. The top grossing film of all time only made $30 million on Labor Day weekend.
It's true. Around here, nobody went to the movies this weekend. We had a major golf tournament here, so you couldn't get to the movies if you wanted to because all the roads were freaking closed. So, All right, I'm going to let you do your show, but everybody, I'm Kyle. That's a bird from Birdemic, and we'll be back. He's going to do the show.
Just a little bit there of Kanye. I'm going to let you finish, but
Kyle, the best of all time. It's the best of all time.
Kyle is our Kanye. That is probably the most accurate statement I'm going to say this entire day. Kyle is our Kanye. All right. So, like I was saying, besides the barbecues, people found their way back into the movie theaters for the premiere of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Now, if you've been listening to any shows like this, then you probably know that originally the film was estimated to bring in between like 35 to 40 million a couple weeks back. And that was because there were some things going against this film. You had a brand new character with no obvious ties to the MCU, other than them actually coming out and saying, meet your new favorite Avenger. And that was only done recently in the marketing. They didn't even do that in the beginning. And the trailers were okay, but they weren't great. I don't think anybody watched the trailer and went, oh my God, I've got to see that. It was like, oh, okay. They didn't have any big Hollywood stars in it. And of course, the COVID-19 rates are rising and rising. And then you throw on top the fact that Labor Day weekend has just never been a good movie weekend. You'd think it would be. Hey, it's 4 days. Everybody's going to the theater. But this is traditionally the end of summer. So people don't think about being inside the movie theater. They think about being outside. And that's why, I think it's the Halloween reboot was the biggest blockbuster for Labor Day weekend at 30 million. So even at 35 to 40 million, it would be the best Labor Day weekend movie ever. So the estimates made a lot of sense. Then a couple weeks back, Marvel had the red carpet premiere. And a lot of interesting things happened at the premiere. We found out that Ben Kingsley was going to be in the movie. There had been no word about that. There was no heads up that Ben Kingsley was reprising his role from Iron Man 3. But right there on the red carpet, he's walking along and they interviewed him. Yeah, I'm in the movie. Which everybody went, oh? And if you remember correctly, he was the Mandarin, the fake Mandarin in Iron Man 3. And then there was the All Hail the King short, the Marvel one-shot they did, which had him being kidnapped by a representative of the Ten Rings. Well, we didn't know if they were actually going to do anything with that or if that was just a throwaway. And Disney even put All Hail the King onto Disney Plus. So once they announced that Kingsley was in the film, but again, didn't do any of that going up. I mean, they waited till the last 2 weeks for any of this stuff. But they did the filming, the screenings and stuff, and they didn't let the reviewers put out their full reviews, but they said, go ahead and tell people your initial thoughts on the movie, what your feelings are coming out of the theater. And they must have known that this was a good movie because the initial reactions were incredibly positive. I mean, immediately word of mouth started building, and normally reserved industry people who are like, oh, it's a decent film. They started gushing about it. You know, I mean, I saw one reviewer who's normally very reserved. He came out and said, oh, I can't wait to see this again. I've got it lined up for 2 more times already. So, but while this film was trying to make some buzz and some buildup, Marvel didn't help themselves by dropping the Eternal trailer. Then CinemaCon came, and we got the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer dropped, and all the other films that were mentioned at CinemaCon. So you had all this other buzz trying to steal the thunder from Shang-Chi. But the positive word of mouth was building so much that all the industry insiders came out and they went, well, maybe it'll do 45 to 50. I mean, it's still got all those other things going against it, but 45 seems like a good number. That'll be a great opening for a Labor Day movie, for a new property. They just, yeah. And then the film opened. And Thursday night alone, it pulled in $8.8 million in preview screenings. $8.8 million. That was Thursday night. Sunday, which is normally the worst day of the weekend, between Saturday, the drop is done. It had a 2% drop from Saturday to Sunday, bringing in another $22.7 million. It did over $30 million just on Thursday and Sunday, meaning that it beat the old record without counting Friday or Saturday at all. The 3-day total for the film is $75.5 million, and you still had Monday to throw in there. And this was the strongest Monday in the entire pandemic. $18.9 million. The 4-day total is $94.4 million. So think about that. From the initial $35 million proposed original estimate to $94.4 million actual taken. This is a massive haul for a film, more than doubling its estimates. It has a 98% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes and a 92% critic score. The word of mouth continues to build, and there's a really good chance this film is going to continue at the top slot of the box office next week because there's nothing coming out. There's nothing to knock it down. There's no other big film to jump in its spot. Now, this is not a knock against the people who do the estimates. Okay? The factors they used to come up with the 45 million, 35 million estimates were legit. There were serious concerns about this film because, Michelle Yeoh and Tony Leung are big stars internationally, but they're not huge draws at the domestic box office. Labor Day weekend, like I said, is notoriously bad for films, and there was no way that they could have predicted that this film would work like this. Now, what this is a knock against are all the people out there who are saying that audiences are tired of superhero films and the MCU is starting to die out, and they're just doing the same thing over and over again. None of those comments that they are based on facts. This is more people who just need to, I don't know, to be contrary, to be relevant in their mind. They just say this stuff because then they're predicting, they're being ahead of the curve. Where if you come out and say, oh, this is the greatest Marvel movie ever, then you're a shill for the company. So, and then the other thing is that, Marvel keeps jumping in on these new genres they haven't done before, and they do them very well. And by the way, and I have to stress this, and this is one of my biggest pet peeves, superhero and comic books are not a genre any more than cops are a genre. If you say, oh, it's a cop movie, they're all the same. They're all cop movies. Are you going to say Police Academy is the same as Training Day? No, they're very different movies. Superheroes are a job or a type of character that you write about, or you're adapting a comic book movie. It's like going, well, all these book movies, all these movies based on novels, they're all the same. You got to stop thinking of comic book movies or superhero movies as being monolithic. They're very different. And damn it, Kyle, I'm on a rant here, and you're going to go with Michael Winslow is better than Denzel Washington. Brian says the worst thing he can say about Shang-Chi is that it's a bit long, but it's incredible. Cool. Kyle says, I'm a little angry it wasn't on Disney Plus. I was willing to pay them for it since I couldn't get to the theater. I'm glad it's not, because they're trying something different with Shang-Chi than they did with Black Widow. And I think it's going to have better legs in the sense that you got people out to the theaters. You got 94. It did better opening weekend. It didn't beat on the 3-day to 3-day comparison with Black Widow, but it had a big opening weekend where the second week drop off for Black Widow was huge because people could stay home and watch it in Disney Plus. They could go to a friend's house. They could borrow it. Yeah, I get it. Hey, I actually haven't gotten over to see Shang-Chi. I'm hoping to go tomorrow after the show. I'd go tonight after the show, but I'm doing in stores tonight with Kyle. So I still have to go see it. And I've already had much of it ruined for me or spoiled for me, but I want to go see it tomorrow after the show. And it would have been awesome if it was on Disney Plus. I would have already watched it. Yeah, I am hearing great things about Tony Leung's character, that this is one of the top Marvel villains, up there with Killmonger and characters like that, where there's a lot of depth and a lot of gravitas, and that it's not a mustache twirling villain. It is a real legitimate character that you can sympathize with, you can understand. And again, bringing Tony Leung in was a stroke of brilliance that Kevin Feige says they were lucky. This wasn't a master plan. That they got him, but the fact they got him is just amazing. And Feige even said that he was left speechless when he first met him. That he's just a different caliber of actor, And if you think about it, Kevin Feige has worked with a lot of incredible actors. Robert Redford, Meryl Streep, just you could go down the list. Ben Kingsley, Willem Dafoe, because he worked on the Spider-Man movies and stuff. He's worked with Patrick Stewart. He's worked with Ian McKellen. Some of the best actors of our day, Kevin Feige has worked with, and he comes away with Tony Leung speechless. I think that's a pretty incredible statement there. Now, so the reason I think Marvel's working is because they're tackling these other genres. They're tackling, this is a martial arts film and it's a fantasy film. And they do all these films that are different. And then they go out and they hire directors, but give them enough freedom to make great films. And I think that's the key to it. I think that's kind of where DC is dropping the ball, is that DC hires these directors and tries to rein them in so much or change direction. Every time DC loses its head and someone else comes in, they change it to another direction. I mean, Suicide Squad was great, but that's because they went, just let James Gunn do what he does. And it worked. But when you try to control somebody and, you have Zack Snyder going one direction, and then when he steps out because of an emergency or family tragedy, they bring in someone to go a completely different direction, and they restrain the new guy so much that he's got no added time to make these changes. I mean, DC seems to know the formula for a disaster as well as Marvel knows the formula for success. I've agreed, and I've been saying that for a long time. DC needs their Kevin Feige. Now, we're going to switch topics here, but it's kind of in the same vein about Marvel and their directors and stuff like that. And where Kevin Feige is great, Disney's got a problem. Now, there's some bad news lately for Marvel, and it's not really their fault. It's because of their parent company. The lawsuit between Scarlett Johansson and Disney is starting to cause waves in other areas of Marvel's work. It's being reported that the Russo brothers were in discussions to come back and do another movie. Now, these are the guys that directed Captain America Winter Soldier, Captain America Civil War, Avengers Infinity War, and Avengers Endgame. Avengers Endgame is one of the top grossing movies of all time. It passed Avatar, and then they re-released Avatar real quick just to bounce it back up. Okay? These are huge grossing films. Well, like I said, they were in discussion with Marvel to come back for another film, but now they're saying they're hesitant to sign on because they don't know if they can trust Disney. Will Disney release the films in a theatrical release, and will they pay them what they agree to pay them? I mean, Johansson had a contract that promised a theatrical release and a percentage of the box office, and Disney did a split release with the Disney Plus and gave her no cut of the money from the streaming service. So they literally took viewers away from the box office by releasing it, doing the day and date release, and then didn't compensate her for it, didn't make a deal beforehand. And all of this comes down to the new Disney CEO, Bob Chapek. When Bob Iger was there, none of that would have happened. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. Chapek is grossly mishandling this situation. He tried to deal with it in public by making a statement that made Johansson seem greedy, and it backfired. It didn't come across well. It came across as misogynistic. And now they're trying to change paths and move it to, back east to New York and quiet and do it arbitration. They don't want it in the public anymore, even though they launched the first salvo in the public. But that cat's really out of the bag already. People are paying attention to this lawsuit, not only because it's, how is day and date going to work going forward? What's considered an actual theatrical release in your contract compared to this day and date release? A lot of stuff is going to be handled here. And that's part of why Disney wants it to be arbitration, and not an actual court case, because precedents can be set here. It's the same reason why Disney settled with the Kirby family, because they didn't want to risk changing the existing work for hire laws. So they just gave them a big truck of money. Well, Marvel should have done that in the first place. Or excuse me, Disney should have done that in the first place. This is not Marvel. These aren't the bad guys at Marvel. This is Chapek. Chapek's focus in the past has always been cost cutting and upping profits. And from what I understand, there's a big bonus setup that the heads of Disney get if the numbers on Disney Plus take off. So debuting something like Black Widow on Disney Plus was a boon for the channel and a boon for anybody who makes money off of those numbers. It's not a boon for, like I said, Scarlett Johansson, who had a deal that said it would get a traditional theatrical release. Kyle says, I know contract attorneys who are looking at this like the big bad wolf looks at Three Little Pigs. Yeah. This is going, has a potential of changing everything when it comes to these contracts. So you see why the Russo brothers are like, I don't know about this, because there was a contract and Marvel didn't honor, or Disney isn't honoring it. So, and you got to look at the Disney shareholders, like, what in the hell's going on? Because at some point they're going to go, let me get this straight. This guy that's replacing Bob Iger, who helped make us into one of the biggest companies ever, is already in a feud with one of the stars of Marvel, and now the directors who made one of the biggest grossing films of all time are hesitant to work. There's going to be some backlash here, and Chapek just seems it is in everybody's best interest that Disney continue. Well, I don't say everybody's best interest, but if you are a Marvel fan, you want Marvel to succeed, and you want more Marvel movies, and Disney handling that well is key. So you want Bob Chapek to be successful. You want Disney to thrive. You want it. That's the thing, is if you want these movies to continue. This is not a good thing. If you're going to start getting your actors and stuff being hesitant to sign long-term deals, it's just going to be a mess. So I think the shareholders are going to have to step up, and Feige is going to have to see what kind of power he really has within the Disney family, because this is a mess and it's not getting better. So, and by the way, between Free Guy and Shang-Chi, I think there's a good chance the argument for day and date release model is probably dead. You look at what happened with how little money Suicide Squad made, the restricted money that Black Widow made, and that was only really bolstered by the $60 million that they made through Disney Plus. Suicide Squad didn't get any additional because the HBO Max thing, there was no additional premium. It was just, you have HBO Max, you got the Suicide Squad, which, trust me, was great because I watched the Suicide Squad. But yeah, it's kind of a mess, and it's not going to get better until Disney steps up and solves the problem with Scarlett, because you're going to lose directors like that. And if the Russos go, what about Taika? James Gunn? I'm sure Disney, Warner Brothers, is going to be happy to let them come over and play in the DC universe. Shang-Chi has a shortened exclusivity window of 45 days. And Brian's pointing this out. And what that means is that they will be in theaters exclusively for 45 days After that, it can go on to video on demand, pay-per-view, and it could go on Disney Plus. It doesn't mean it's going to. They can make that call, that they can adjust it. The only thing is that it's guaranteed to be exclusive in the theaters for 45 days. Now, it might be 60 days. They might hold off. They might hold off on releasing it in the other ways to try to milk a little bit more, because there aren't a lot of other films coming up this month. Shang-Chi could just run it for a while. They did move, Sony just moved Venom up to October 1st. So it was September, then they moved it back. Now they're moving it back up to October 1st. So Sony is definitely feels better after Shang-Chi came out. JD asks, what's the hot topic? We're talking right now about Shang-Chi and, of course, the fallout from the Scarlett Johansson. And then after the break, we are going to talk about zombies. Marvel zombies, actually. But before we go to break, let me remind you, folks, that we've got some great shows coming up. Right after this show is Black Comic Universe with the team from Pax Sampson. Then after that will be Minute to Skim It. And then at 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern, Kyle and I will be back, and we'll sit around yelling at clouds and talking about comics. So that's the lineup for the rest of the show. I said universe, Black Comic Universe. I'm trying to pick it up and trying to get to it. So, okay. So since we are at a clear point between our topics, Kyle, why don't you take us to commercial, and we'll pick up with Marvel Zombies when we get back. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show. We are going to be talking about Marvel Zombies. Why? Well, if you haven't seen online, they released a couple posters and a clip for tonight's episode of Marvel's What If. And I say tonight's because it drops at midnight here. So to me, that's still tonight. Now, I know for people on the East Coast, it's 3 a.m., and it's tomorrow morning. And a lot of people don't watch the show until they get up tomorrow morning. I will probably be up, I don't know about this one. I don't know about staying up till midnight and watching a zombie episode and then going to bed. That seems like nightmare fuel to me, doesn't it? Just seems like a bad idea. But all right, so the episode, the posters we saw were zombified versions of Marvel characters, and then Mark Ruffalo, king of spoilers, posted a teaser clip which tells us we're getting the zombies, and it appears to be taking place during Avengers Infinity War. So what the clip shows, I'll tell you what the clip is. You could probably find it online. The clip shows Bruce Banner appearing just outside the sanctum like he did, but it's a little different, so we got to see what the change is. No, I don't know if we're going to get the Embers of Genesis. At least I didn't see anything about the Embers of Genesis, but there's always a possibility. I give it to Ruffalo over Tom Holland on The King, because Tom Holland seems to be kind of accidentally, where I get the feeling that Ruffalo does it on purpose and he has fun with it. So anyway, so the scene is Ruffalo shows up and he's looking around and it's just quiet. He's like, am I too late? And then suddenly Cull Obsidian and Ebony Maw appear in the street and he tries to force the Hulk out. And of course the Hulk doesn't want to come out and play. And then, so he's now by himself worried, and this hand comes through the portal and a propulsor ray fires at the back of Cull Obsidian's head. And he's like, oh yeah, Tony, all right. He gets all excited as it's three people. It looks like it's Wong, Doctor Strange, and Iron Man. And they come in, they basically kick Cull Obsidian and Ebony Maw's ass. And as he's cheering, he starts realizing, wait a minute, they're being a little excessively violent, and oh my God, they're eating him. And we get our first look at zombified Tony Stark. And that's the clip he put on his Twitter page. It's like, thanks, Mark. So yeah, we're definitely getting nightmare fuel tonight from the MCU. Now, this, of course, isn't the first time Marvel has played with zombies. And a lot of people are going to think Marvel Zombie Robert Kirkman, but that's not where it started. The first person to do Marvel Zombies was actually Mark Millar. And he did it in an episode, in a couple issues of Ultimate Fantastic Four. What he was doing when he was writing it, he had the Ultimate Fantastic Four traveling to different planets or different Earths. And in issues 21 to 23, I'm going to get to that, JD. JD asks, haven't seen any of the what ifs. Have the Fantastic Four been included in the show? No. The Fantastic Four has not been included in the show. And Kyle says, all we want to do is eat your brains. We're not unreasonable. No one's going to eat your Infinity Stones. Alrighty. Well, so this episode of Ultimate Fantastic Four introduced an Earth. It was Earth 2149, and it was populated by zombies. Now, this ran, like I said, 21 to 23, and they still had the powers, and they still had their personalities and stuff. Now, Kyle. Oh, Kyle. Anyway, so the bigwigs at Marvel went, hey, we like this zombie idea. Let's play with it. And that's when they turned to Robert Kirkman, who, of course, co-creator of The Walking Dead and also Invincible, is kind of the guy known for doing superheroes and zombies back and forth. So they went, why don't we put them together? You know, it's like chocolate and peanut butter. They got him to do Marvel Zombies #1 in 2005. December of 2005, and they teamed him with artist Sean Phillips. And Kirkman wrote the series for new readers. You didn't have to have read Ultimate FF. They didn't play a part in it. But he also decided to go away from the slow-moving Romero-style zombies that everybody's used to and that permeate The Walking Dead. Instead, we got the Marvel zombies retain their personalities and their powers, but they have this uncontrollable hunger for human flesh, which overrides it. So when they've satiated their hunger, they get their minds back and stuff. You know, there's one scene from the series where Peter Parker is just besides himself with grief because he's eaten both Aunt May and Mary Jane. And he's like, oh, why? Why? You know? So it's a pretty intense little series set up like that. But it's a unique zombie story also because it doesn't focus on the survivors of an apocalypse. You know, it's not about the humans fighting the zombies. It's more about how the zombies react to each other and deal with their hunger. So it's a storyline from the zombies' point of view. Now, it might be different in What If because we see in some of the clips we've seen like Bucky and what looks like maybe a Black Widow, stuff like that, as the protagonist, or at least the survivors dealing with it, but don't know about this. Now, the plot for the series is started with an unknown superhero from another dimension who brought this hunger with him as he crash-landed on Earth. It quickly spread, infecting the Avengers, the X-Men, Fantastic Four, and just about every other superhero. And as the infection spread, you know, and again, the normal way it spreads, through bites and through blood and stuff, eventually they kind of ate through all the non-transformed humans, or the majority of them. I mean, there was some weird stuff going on. At one point, Giant Man had Black Panther stashed away, and he was like taking pieces off of him at a time, but keeping him alive. And if you're Giant Man, I think you could like expand the flesh, so you take a little piece and make it bigger. Ugh. JD says, I'm in the minority of people who isn't impressed with Marvel zombie stuff. Likely I won't start What If with this episode. I get it. The What If episodes have been a little all over the place in the sense the first two were light with the little twist endings. The second two were far darker. The third episode is kind of a murder mystery. The fourth one is just dark as hell. And now we're going to the zombies. So What If is a good series. I've actually enjoyed all of them so far, and I'm going to watch this one. But yeah, I'm not a zombie fan either. Though I did like Night of the Living Dead. Overall, I'm not a zombie guy. I'm not a Walking Dead fan. I don't watch the show. I've written a lot of horror stories and horror comics, but I don't read or watch horror. So now, again, so back to the plot. They're driven by hunger, and like I said, they quickly wipe out all of the food source. Magneto is a main character in the series, but more in the Ultimate FF part of it. When it comes to this, he's kind of taken out pretty quickly. This is more the Silver Surfer showing up and announcing Galactus is coming, and the zombies attack him and devour him, and some of them take the power cosmic into them, making them even more powerful zombies. And then Galactus shows up and the zombies attack them. And they're still smart zombies, so they figure out how to boost their power, and eventually they eat Galactus. Even though he fought him off the first time, they figure out, Giant Man and Iron Man and Banner figure out how to boost their power, and they end up devouring Galactus, and in a sense taking his power in, and this group becomes this kind of a zombie group of Galacti. Is Galactus, is the plural form of Galactus Galacti? I can't think of a better term for it. And then they take that hunger out into space, and I think the final scene is they're coming to a planet, and thinking, oh my God, Galactus is coming. And instead you get like 5 of them showing up and they're the zombie versions of them, but they still have Galactus's powers. Galactus's. JD says, similar, I like the Romero stuff. 28 Days Later, Dead Alive, and The Walking Dead show until the Negan stuff happened. Other than that, zombies are so overdone it hurts. And yeah, again, I've never been a zombie fan, so I guess I like Rob Zombie too. Now, see, that's very different. I'm a fan of Rob's. I like Rob. So now, Marvel Zombies was a hit. It was very popular when it came out. It also had covers by Arthur Saddam, who is kind of known for doing zombies. It's kind of his gig. If you're doing a zombie book, you call Arthur and you get him to do a cover. I mean, the guy's had an interesting life. He played bass for Bruce Springsteen, and he draws zombie pictures. It's not a bad life if you can have it, right? Well, Marvel kept cashing in on the idea. In 2007, they did a crossover with Dynamite, where they did a Marvel Zombies versus the Army of Darkness. There was a one-shot they did the same year called Marvel Zombies Dead Days, which just kind of delved deeper into some of the other characters from that miniseries. And then they did 4 more miniseries follow-ups, each cleverly titled Marvel Zombies 2, Marvel Zombies 3, Marvel Zombies 4, and, wait for it, Marvel Zombies 5. And these ran from 2007 to 2010. And Marvel was basically milking the property for all it was worth, but fans kept buying it, They even appeared in the 2015 Secret Wars event as one of the multiple Earths that were pitted against each other. There was a tie-in miniseries called Age of Ultron versus Marvel Zombies, where the zombie domain is called Deadlands and the Ultron's domain is called Perfection. And we get these zombie heroes versus the Ultron drones. But eventually they figure out, hey, why don't we team up and just take out everybody else together? And that was kind of it. And at one point, Black Panther becomes the king of the undead or whatever it is and leads a zombie army against the all-powerful Doctor Doom. So, I mean, they really worked the zombies in quite a bit. Can you show your Aquaman action figure, please? That's an interesting one. I'm gonna stick on topic for now, Prasad, but maybe at the end I'll pull it down. All right. Okay, we're going to go on with this. I missed Marvel Zombies. A Christmas Carol was a little shark jumpy. Yeah, that would be. So, okay, let's see. As you can see, there's a well-established place in Marvel Comics for zombies. I mean, from about 2005 on, they were popping up everywhere. Now, we did get a hint of it in the MCU, though. If you remember in Spider-Man Far From Home, in one of the illusions Mysterio used to mess with Peter, there was a Tony Stark / Iron Man zombie in it, like over Tony's grave. And that really freaked Peter out, which would freak me out too, especially since a lot of Far From Home was about Peter dealing with the death of Tony Stark and feeling like he had to take over and stuff. Now, we're going to get into something that JD asked about a little bit, about the Fantastic Four appearing in What If. What does this mean for the What If series? Well, it's pretty safe to say it's not going to be a direct adaptation because Magneto, Silver Surfer, and Galactus don't exist in the MCU. And we were told that the series would not be introducing new characters. They wouldn't be bringing in the X-Men or Fantastic Four stuff in this. So basically, we were only playing with characters that existed already in the Marvel Universe. That said, though, Last week's episode of What If introduced us to Obeng, played by Ike Amadi, who had not been introduced yet in the MCU. And Obeng is an alias for the wizard Cagliostro, who's a big villain for the Marvel Universe. So maybe they lied. Maybe they kept it quiet. I don't know. But I seriously doubt that Kevin Feige would wait and go, mutants, we're going to bring them into the animated series. This is not going to be where we meet Fantastic Four characters and X-Men characters. This is going to be more self-contained. And having it placed during Infinity War, they may end up using Thanos in place of Galactus and Black Order as a fill-in for the Silver Surfer, in a sense, if they were trying to do the storyline. The Black Order comes to collect the stones. They get killed by the zombies. Thanos shows up later on to see what's going on, and they attack him too. And then you end up with, instead of zombies with Galactuses or the power cosmic, you end up with a group of zombies going out into the galaxy with Infinity Stones. That actually sounds really scary. They could bring in Dormammu. What's interesting, they didn't bring Dormammu in last episode, which would have been a good place for him. They just mentioned him. But yeah, there's a couple characters they could use. But like I said, since it's taking place in the Infinity War and / Endgame era, I have a feeling that Thanos will be, taking on the zombies, taking on Thanos might be the climax of the episode. But again, we won't know until it airs tonight. But again, also, there's been clips about showing us some of the survivors. And I've recently had someone point out that the survivors we've seen are all people who got blipped, who got snapped away. And the zombies we've seen are all people who stayed. I don't know if that ties into it, if it's just a coincidence, but something else to keep in mind. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is that What If seems to be building to this Guardians of the Multiverse storyline. We know Captain Carter's part of it, and that was the first episode of What If. We know that Star-Lord T'Challa is part of it, and that was the second one. Yeah, Vision would have been great to have on your side during a zombie apocalypse. Absolutely. Anybody who can be intangible. Kitty Pryde would probably be another good one, too. But again, X-Men, we don't have her yet. The third episode doesn't really give us a character that plays, at least not that we've noticed, that plays into the Guardians of the Multiverse, the poster they put out. The fourth one gave us the Dark Doctor Strange. That's definitely on the poster. So what are we going to get out of this one? What character, if any? I mean, is it going to be like the Hank Pym one or the third episode, both the Avengers were killed thing? I'm trying not to spoil it for JD. I just realized that number 3 is a true murder mystery, or is a murder mystery, and I don't want to spoil anything yet, but so there's a Black Widow, there's a Gamora, and we see Killmonger. And I know that there's an episode that's Killmonger saves Tony Stark, so that's probably the Killmonger we get. This might be the Gamora episode, or this might be the Black Widow episode. Maybe the Black Widow we get is a zombie killing Black Widow. Sorry, JD. If you're going to watch shows like this, you should keep up with the topics. And that was 2 full weeks ago. So yeah, maybe we get Gamora, who we see in the poster is wearing Thanos' armor. Zombie Hunter Spider-Man will probably show up in this as well. I mean, he is zombie hunting Spider-Man, so it would make sense. But I haven't seen him in any of the Guardians of the Universe or the Multiverse posters. So I don't think he is part of that. Again, might be wrong. They did make a figure for him, so it's possible. I'm wondering if Gamora gets Thanos' armor because maybe in this universe she outmaneuvers him and on Vormir and ends up killing him instead. Or maybe this is where we get, like I said, Black Widow, who looks to be in kind of a more tactical gear in the poster. So trying to put these pieces together still. But we got a ways to go and a few more pieces still. So have to see how all this works out. Yeah, it does whatever a zombie hunting spider can. Doesn't really flow well with the song, does it? So, JD, you're going to have to catch up on What If. I'm telling you, man. You're an artist. You sit drawing all day, right? Just turn the show on. They're half hour. They don't take that long. And they're really cool art, so you should catch up on them. So, all right. Real quick, let me pull down the Aquaman that Pershog asked to see. All right. This is, of course, the Hot Toys version of Aquaman. This may be the only time anybody has ever made the orange and green outfit look cool. I find it interesting that Hot Toys switches back and forth on hair. This is definitely sculpted hair, where on some female characters, they don't put sculpted hair. They put that fake, like, movable hair. I prefer the sculpted hair because to me, these are like mini statues. You just posable statues. So, but yeah, I like this guy. I pre-ordered him as soon as the movie came out. I'm like, oh, hell yeah, I need that. And I've got most of the other Justice League. I don't have the Flash because I really hated that costume. So, but yeah, I'm addicted to Hot Toys. I get them whenever I can. Would love Hot Toys to sponsor me, and I would be happy to feature a Hot Toy every week if they want to send them to me. Fake hair isn't going to capture the Samson-esque nature of Momoa's locks. Yeah, they need to be sculpted. They can't be just that loose and like doll hair thing. It's gotta be elegant. I'm making up words now, which shows us we're near the end of the show. So, all right, guys. Let's remind you guys that after this is Black Comic Universe with the team from PAX Samson. Then there's Minute to Skim It. And then Kyle and I will be back for Two Guys Yelling about Comics, or what we call In Stores This Week. I will be back tomorrow with some topic. I don't know what it's going to be yet. I kind of take from the local, whatever the news is. Like this morning I saw that it was going to be zombies tonight. So I thought, let's talk about Marvel Zombies. So we'll see what tomorrow's news is going to be. Until then, please stick around. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons. We'd appreciate it. That helps us out a lot. The thumbs up, the heart buttons, no one ever gives us those care buttons. What's wrong with the care button? Anyway, I'm glad you guys joined the show. JD, Brian, thanks for chiming in. Also, I want to say Persog, if that's how it's pronounced, from Brazil. Thank you for coming on here. I hope you guys all have a terrific day. And I'm going to call it here because I'm out of topics. So have a great night. And Kyle, take us away.